Hi! Do you ever wonder how Band 9 students prepare for IELTS speaking? Well, I've been chatting to some amazing people who have got a Band 8 and even a Band 9 on IELTS speaking, and I want to share with you how they did it. So come inside, let's find out. So my name is Keith. I run the website www.keithspeakingacademy.com, helping you, speak better English, give better answers, and get a higher score on IELTS speaking. So today I'm going to tell you how Band 8 and 9 students prepare for IELTS speaking. What is it they do? What is it they think? I think it's really interesting to find out. I'm going to couple that together with the Band Descriptors and what they tell us, what IELTS tells us about being a Band 9. Now, a word of warning. This really is for advanced level students. I think if you're a Band 7, it's a great goal to go for 8. If you're a Band 5, your goal should be the next level up, Band 6. So this really is for high-level students. So if you're a Band 5 or 6, turn off now. Go away. Well, you can stay if you like. It might be interesting to find out, right, how these higher-level students who achieve Band 9, how they think and what they do. Now, in addition today, I have a bit of a special surprise because I am going to do today together with it's our video with our sponsors, CAMBLY. We're going to do a lucky draw. Now, if you don't know CAMBLY, they are a fantastic online platform where you can find native English speaking teachers to give you one-to-one classes. You can practice speaking, practice your fluency, practice your IELTS questions and answers if you like. It's a great quality platform. I love what they do. They very kindly sponsored this video. They also have online courses, which you can access on your computer, on your phone, even for IELTS as well. So definitely worth looking into. But today, CAMBLY and myself, we are going to do a lucky draw and choose one person, and that could be you, to get 60 minutes for free on CAMBLY, which could be fantastic, right? You could do a mock test, you could do some practice, you could ask lots of questions to the teacher that you choose. Now, this is for not only new users, but existing users on CAMBLY. All you have to do, right, is comment on this video. Tell me something that you agree with or disagree with, if you like, or something that you like in the video. Just leave a comment. All of the names will be taken, put into a big box, spun around, and I'll choose a name, and that person will win the lucky draw, 60 minutes free on CAMBLY with a native English speaker. That's it. Great. So I'll remind you at the end. Right now, let's jump in to how Band 9 students prepare for IELTS speaking. So first of all, by the way, just one thing, right? As I've chatted to these students, what I'm about to tell you is not true for 100% everybody at Band 8 and Band 9. Students can be a little bit different. They don't all do the same things. But what I've got here are themes or things that I notice are repeated and come up again and again, and that the majority of your Band 8 and Band 9 students do. These are the traits, the characteristics and behaviours of most of them. But of course, not all of them, right? So not everybody is exactly the same, fortunately. Okay, number one is Band 9 students realise that IELTS is not about tips and tricks. Right now, this is important because a lot of students at lower levels are looking for the quick fix, the tip or the trick that can get them that extra level up. Your Band 9 student realises it's about learning a language. They're in it for the long haul or the long game, right? It takes a long time to learn a language, years and years and years. So whilst you may pick up a few tips and tricks on the way, really it's about learning English over a long period of time. Now, what often happens is students go onto Facebook and they see somebody say, "Oh, I just got a band 8 and I prepared for 3 weeks." But what they don't know is that that person has spent years and years and years working and developing their English level up to the Band 8 level and has probably just spent 3 weeks looking at exam technique. So you have to be really careful when you look at what other people are doing. Don't compare yourself to others, right? Compare you to you several months ago and see the progress that you've made. But that's the first tip. So that's the first thing, right? That Band 9 students realise it's about learning English, and most of them grow to love language learning. It doesn't become a chore or a headache, but it becomes a thing of love, a passion that they can see has benefits for the rest of their life. The second point, which is slightly related, is that Band 9 students are patient, right? As I mentioned, it takes years to learn a language, right? I mean, take British people. If you took a 12-year-old British person, they probably wouldn't get a 9 on IELTS speaking. For fluency, grammar, hopefully, pronunciation, maybe, but vocabulary, probably not, because they've not had their full education in English yet, and they won't have all the ideas to talk about global warming and things like that. So, that's 12 years for a native speaker. So it's a lifelong investment. So you do have to be patient. And what's more, the language learning curve, right, for a beginner is in a short space of time, you improve very quickly. As you get better and better, you need a huge investment of time to increase or improve just a little bit. And that's the challenge the advanced and the intermediate and the advanced students face. They have to put in a lot of time for a little reward. So you must be patient. Number 3 is that Band 9 students understand fluency is developed over time. So I have noticed that Band 9 students practice regularly, persistently over a long period of time. And they don't just practice with the same person. They will practice with lots of different people. Maybe it's friends, family members, teachers, other students, but they look for ways to get into communities and practice with different people. The thing with practicing and developing fluency is it is very much like a tree or a plant growing up, right? It's nature. It takes time to do it. You need to water it, to look after it, to let it grow slowly. You can't push a plant to grow more quickly. It just doesn't work. And it's the same with your fluency. It takes time to come out naturally, but if you keep doing the practice, then you get there. And this is a key thing I think that Band 8 and Band 9 students do. They understand the need to practice continually over a long period of time. Number 4 is that Band 9 students chunk. Chunk. That means they don't just focus on words, but they speak in chunks. A chunk of language is a group of words that you speak or pronounce together. And Band 8 and Band 9 students do this. They do it all the time. And they have done it so much that it becomes a natural part of their speaking. So they will combine shorter chunks and longer chunks together as and when it feels natural to do so. So what do I mean exactly? If you've not heard about chunks, well, because you don't get chunks very much in the course books or the reference books, but it is the fundamental part of language learning and language speaking. So let me give you an example, right? Let's take here this phrase. Most days I get up in the morning at around 7. I have breakfast and then I catch the bus to work. Now, I'm speaking that a bit robotic and word by word, but what your Band 9 student does and understands is the need to chunk. Now, they may say something like this. Most days, I get up in the morning at around 7. I have breakfast, and then I catch the bus to work. Right? You can see there are different chunks. Most days, I get up in the morning at around 7, I have breakfast, and then I catch the bus to work. And these chunks are developed often by just substitution practice, right? At around 7, at around 8, at around 9, it's just one sound. I get up in the morning, I get up at 7, I get up late. Very, very simple chunks, and this is the key to fluency and language learning, in my humble opinion. So Band 8 and Band 9 students understand the need to practice this as much as they can, and they do a lot of imitation, I've noticed, of native speakers. Now, whether that's listening to a video or a podcast and just repeating these chunks as you hear them, I get up in the morning, repeating, I get up in the morning, I get up in the morning, repeating these chunks a lot. And quite a few students spoke to me of trying to imitate the native speaker. Not only the sounds, but the way they speak. Some students imitate the gesture or the mannerisms. Others try and get the intonation. But to try and get what one student called an English speaking mode is this feeling of how English speakers speak and talk, partly to do with behavior or culture, intonation, but all of that feeling is something that they try to imitate, and they do that a lot. Okay, next one up. Most Band 9 students usually have a plan. For a certain period of time, they have an organized way of study, something they're going to do at a certain time each day, and it's planned out, at least for the time that they have decided to prepare for the IELTS speaking. So I noticed plans were a common theme for those high-level students. And many students said that they make a conscious decision to invest time in study rather than play. That's a good point. Let's move on. The next point is most Band 9 students understand what is expected of them. And what I mean by that is that they look at these, the IELTS Band Descriptors, although often they actually get a teacher to go through it with them and to explain exactly what it means. There is a public version, but it's not crystal clear every time. But they take time to understand what they are evaluated on and where they need to focus. Most Band 8 and 9 students have taken at least one mock test with a teacher in order to identify their weaknesses or their strengths and to know where to focus in order to move up to the level that they require. Next one up, Band 9 students invest a lot of time building up vocabulary. And this is really interesting because, as I mentioned before with the 12-year-old British kid, whilst your fluency, pronunciation and grammar take a long time to develop, vocabulary is the one area you can probably make the biggest impact in the shortest time. If you remember my interview with Steve Kaufman, the polyglot, right? He said it's all about vocabulary. In fact, there are whole teaching methods, the lexical method, based on vocabulary, saying that, the grammar is all well and good, but the key to language learning is vocabulary. And how does your Band 9 student develop that vocabulary? Well, the first thing is, without a doubt, is reading and listening to a wide range of resources. Not just the course book that they have, not just the same films on Netflix, but a wide range of things. So videos on how to cook, on how to train a dog, on places to have a picnic, magazine articles on furniture, interior design, the scientific journal on space exploration. Reading and listening really widely is so important, not just for the topic, but for the vocabulary that's connected to that topic. So this huge desire to read and listen widely is very, very common. And your Band 9 student understands that you need to learn vocabulary in context. So just having word lists is okay, but you need to have got them from a context so you know how to use them. And it seems they have this kind of curiosity, this sense of being curious about language vocabulary and the different ways it can be used. And one of the things I have talked a lot about with Band 8 students is the different connotation or nuance that a word can have. And it's so important to understand the nuance, because that again is where the examiner will differentiate a 7, an 8, a 9, is that do they really understand the nuance or the connotation of different words? So for example, when a student came up to me like several weeks ago and said, Keith, it's great, your videos are really notorious. And I said, what? What's happened? Why? He said, well, no, that's great. I mean, you're becoming famous. I said, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean? Famous or notorious? And he said, well, it's the same. I said, no, it's not. Notorious has a very negative connotation. That's when you're famous for something bad that you've done. Famous is just neutral. Oh, so different words have different connotations, right? And I have, a pet hate I'm going to tell you about. When I started using Instagram, I honestly didn't like it because I kept seeing lots and lots of these memes showing synonyms, a bit like this one, right? So synonyms, curious, nosy, old, ancient, right? Well, okay, they may be synonyms, but the big problem is it doesn't take into account the context and the connotation, right? You can't say, I bumped into an ancient man in the street, right? It's an old man. Ancient has a different connotation. We use that normally for buildings, for example. Or if I'm out with my wife and we're shopping and she's being very careful with her money, I may say, oh, you're being thrifty today. But woe betide if I say you're being stingy today, because that is not a synonym. Well, yes, it means you're saving and being careful, but stingy has such a negative connotation. I'd get into real trouble if I said that. Thrifty has a positive connotation. So although synonyms are useful, if they're out of context and if you don't know the connotation, you're going to get into more trouble. So your Band 8 and 9 students are curious about connotation and learning connotations. And the best way is through context. Oh yes, and making mistakes. Make lots of mistakes and you start to learn how to use them correctly. Let's move on. Next up, I think it's number 8. Band 9 students know that seeing a word is not the same as knowing a word. So it's one thing to see a word and to know the meaning, right? You recognize it, but that is not the same as being able to use it successfully. And your Band 8 and 9 students understand the different levels or stages you go through in learning vocabulary. You have to see it, you have to start using it, you have to make mistakes with it. You have to make mistakes so you can learn how to use it properly. So mistakes are great, and advanced level students will embrace mistakes and will be happy to make lots of mistakes as a part of the learning process. I've also noticed, successful students usually keep vocabulary records, and at a Band 9, it's most of the time monolingual. So it's in English without translation. So they're keeping records in English, definitions in English, examples, of course, in English. And also they learn by theme. They often group vocabulary words and lexical items by theme to help them connect them and learn them in a better way. And so in order to reach the higher stage of knowing vocabulary, they need to activate it, and they will spend time practicing, substitution drills, different contexts, just practicing to activate the language and building up that flexibility, which is really another key thing about Band 8 and 9, is being able to use the language, the chunks of language flexibly, right? So memorizing is not good, but memorizing chunks that then you can move and change and put in different orders, yes, absolutely. That's what it's all about. Next, most Band 9 students invest in their study, and not just invest time, but invest money. right? It's amazing. I look at the books and materials and things that they have, that most Band 8, 9 students have bought a course. They've bought reference books, course books, dictionaries, reference books on collocations and idioms. Quite a lot, or a significant investment. And I think, again, I mean, this is certainly my case, is that it's to see this language learning as a lifetime investment, something that you're going to benefit for, the whole of your future life. It's worth investing in. The next one is that Band 9 students build flexibility. I did mention this before. The key to language learning is flexibility at an advanced level. So one thing they told me they do is that they repeat the answers to questions, but giving a different answer. So they'll take the same question, for example, do you have any hobbies? And they will give different answers. So they'll answer 4 or 5 times, but a different answer each time. Do you have any hobbies? Yes, I love cooking. I really enjoy cooking at the weekends when I get some free time. Yes, I'm a big fan of cooking. I love to go into the kitchen at the weekends and rustle up a new dish, try my hand at some new recipes, just to really relax and enjoy good food. And so on and so on. Building that flexibility. It's a great activity, right? Just take a question and give different answers every time. Now, an interesting thing that several students did is that they said they practiced making up stories. And they said that they became aware that quite a few questions in IELTS were a bit strange, and they've got no real experience about it. So they made up stories to talk about that. But they didn't just make up the stories, they practiced making up stories. So that if, come the test, they were hit with a completely unknown topic, they were used to making up stories and to talking about things that were just imagined. Interesting, right? Probably a good exam strategy. Next one up, Band 9 students are good at noticing. And this is well researched, actually, that the value of noticing in language learning. Most successful language learners are able to notice patterns. They notice grammatical patterns. They notice vocabulary patterns. And they notice how language is used in different contexts. It's a really important skill to build up, but a very valuable one. So, for example, you may know that when we say, I'm interested in something, the preposition is in, right? I'm interested in this. But you may be listening to the radio. Does anybody listen to the radio anymore? I do. You may be listening to a podcast and all of a sudden you hear somebody said, I'm fascinated by this area of science. And you think, that's interesting. I'm interested in, but I'm fascinated by, right? And you notice and you make a note. That curiosity and noticing patterns or grammar or vocabulary, it's really important. Like noticing collocations, right, which are key with language learning, right? I noticed this when I was learning Chinese. I was listening to somebody one day and they said to me, Keith or Keith, 今天下大雨. And I thought, that's interesting. And what it meant literally was, today, big rain is falling. And I thought, that's interesting. In Chinese, they say big rain. In English, we would say, it's raining heavily, or there is some heavy rain today, heavy rain. But in Chinese, it's 大雨, big rain. And just noticing, right, that is the first step to learning really deeply the language. Now, the next one, this is interesting. This is something I recommend a lot, and I was surprised and pleased. I wasn't surprised. I was extremely pleased that actually Band 9 students do this, and that is to record themselves. A lot of students record themselves quite a lot to listen back and to improve fluency, grammar, vocabulary use, pronunciation, all different aspects. And some students even listen, they go through this cycle 2 or 3 times to get better and better. Of course, I think that the reason this works really well is you're getting feedback. So when you have a teacher saying, that's not right, it should be like this. When you're listening to your recording of you, it's the same. You're getting feedback going, that's not right. I shouldn't have said that. I should say this. So that feedback you can get from recording yourself. Now, the next one I'm including, although only some Band 9 students say they do this, and it's about grammar. I think actually a lot of advanced level students in the test, they don't think too much about grammar. They just go with the flow. They get into a flow and they start speaking and they just let it come out. However, I thought it was interesting that a few people said that they actually practice using complex grammar. So they take certain complex grammatical structures and they look for opportunities to use it in their practice. Now, as a teacher, I also think this is an interesting practice technique. But I would emphasize that if you find it easier just to speak naturally and get into the flow, then do that. But if you want to practice this, you can. So here's a few examples, right? Let's take the third conditional, right? Is a more complex tense. If I had known that you were going to go, I wouldn't have gone. No. But if I had known I wouldn't have right? So I think especially in part 2, when you're thinking of stories, events, and describing activities, you may be looking for a way to use that kind of structure. Another one is the present perfect and present perfect with modals as well, right? So for example, I've been to Paris. It must have been about 4 years ago, right? So I have been to Paris. It must have been about 4 years ago. So you can take that structure, I have done something. It must have been ago, right? Interesting. Another one, just for you, is the past perfect. I had never been there before, right? I've been to Paris. I had never been there before. So that structure, I had never before. I had never done that before. I had never taken one before. So using that past perfect to describe something that happened before the point of the story in the past is interesting. So you can take these kind of templates, complex grammatical structures, and look for ways to integrate them into your part 2 talks or stories. Yes, you can. You don't have to, but you can. Next up. Right, we're at the last one. Phew. Band 9 students are prepared to identify and work on ironing out pronunciation issues. So ironing is not ironing the clothes. Ironing out is to make something smooth or better. So we all have pronunciation problems, and especially certain languages will have a particular problem because of their own mother tongue. Band 9 students will identify that problem and spend a lot of time sorting it out, because the big problem is you have something called fossilized mistakes, which is a mistake or a pronunciation feature that you've done for so many years. It's become like a fossil stuck in the rock. You can't change it. But you have to. Because if you want a Band 8, let's have a look at the Band Descriptors, right? This is Band 8. Uses a wide range of pronunciation features, sustains flexible use of, with only occasional lapses. So you have to be able to use it, sustain its use, with just 1 or 2 mistakes. But if you're repeating these pronunciation mistakes again and again through a 15-minute test, well, 11 to 14 minutes, then you're going to be in trouble. Right? You're not going to get a Band 8. So spending time, the best way I think is either through a mock test or with a teacher who says, listen, you know that you're saying it's not right and you need to fix that. And then really working on it through repetition, recording yourself, practicing, maybe do a pronunciation course if there's a lot of different areas to look at. Don't worry about accent, right? Notice that the band descriptors say L1 accent has a minimal effect on intelligibility. So your mother tongue accent will be there, that's fine, so long as it doesn't affect your intelligibility, how you are understood. Right, my friends, that's it. I think we've had like 110 different things that Band 9 students do. Quite a lot. Very, very interesting. Again, this is not everybody, but this is what a lot of your Band 8, Band 9 advanced students do. So there's something to learn, right? Some of these you may want to pick up and start doing yourself. Now then, let me take a moment to remind you of two things. Bad connotation, good connotation. Go and ask a British man if you don't know that. Two things. The first one is just to remind you, my Fluency course, Fluency for IELTS Speaking, is up and live. It's on Udemy. The link is down below. If you're looking to improve your fluency, go and check it out. It may be what you need. And the second thing, much more exciting, is the lucky draw together with CAMBLY, who are sponsoring this video. Thank you very much, CAMBLY. It's this online platform where you can find native English speaking teachers to help you practice and improve your speaking. You can record your one-to-one sessions. There's even translation in the chat when you're chatting to each other. And there are courses that they have as well. But more important is that we are doing a lucky draw. So all you need to do is to comment on this video. Tell me something that you learned or liked or even disliked or agreed or disagreed with. Just give me a comment, make it interesting. And everybody who comments will go into the big pot or the big hat for the lucky draw. You have got 2 days to do this. So today is Sunday, 1st of November. Happy Halloween, by the way. You've got 2 days. So by Tuesday, the 3rd of November, at 10 o'clock in the morning, Spanish time, it'll close. I'll stop the competition. I'll take all the names and I will let you know through the community tab who the winner is, also through my Facebook group. And obviously I will contact that person or get them to contact me. One way or another, we will find ourselves in the Ethernet and you will win 60 minutes of free CAMBLY time with the teacher of your choice. That's it. Guys, thank you very, very much for watching today's video. I hope it has been interesting, useful, and a learning experience, as well as a bit of fun for you. If you're taking the test in the coming days, best of luck to you. And if you've enjoyed the video, please do remember to subscribe, turn on notifications, remember to comment for the lucky draw, and I will see you very, very soon. Take care now. Cheerio.